People, happy Thursday evening, happy Thursday morning, happy Thursday afternoon, wherever you all are. It's your pal Phil Davis here over at FulPhillment. We are tuning in here live from Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm at currently, and all that good stuff. But thank you all for being here. If you're tuning in on the live, please don't be shy. Give us a comment. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Say hi. Say, um, you know, give us how you feeling today. Whatever you feel like you want to share, please do share. And yeah, so we're just really happy to be here today. I feel like it's been a month since we did our last live, but we're back here doing it. We've got Mia in the house. Beautiful people, good morning to you. Thank you for being here, friend. And yeah, so we'll just kind of get into it. If you're on the live, thanks for being here. If you're streaming on YouTube, please also let us know that you're streaming there as well, and all that good stuff. And if you're going to tune into the replay, maybe if you're not here in the live, but you're looking at the replay, definitely please comment. Let us know your thoughts on this important topic and this live. So definitely appreciate it. And yeah, so I'm going to keep the comments going here for a second. Yeah, still cold up there in North Michigan. I believe it. We've had some like 70-degree weather here in Georgia. It's been sunny for a few couple days. So thank you so much. From Connecticut, thank you for being here as well. And we've got Wasim in the house. We're doing great. Thank you for being here, my friend. But keep them coming. Please keep the comments coming. So we've got, this is what, season 2, episode 3 of FulPhillment Live. And today's a very important topic. And I wanted to bring no other person and professional in the field than Becky Wolfe. So Becky, right? So who is she? She's a good friend of mine. We met, of course, on LinkedIn. I want to say close to a year ago, and we started just talking about people in the beginning and energy and burnout and how to avoid burnout and leadership development and all these different things. And as we all know, right, like there's a lot of uncertainty right now, either through like companies like going through layoffs, going through restructures, going through growth and change. Right, change could be a scary time. Change can be a scary thing. But Becky's really interesting because she is a founder of her own business, BW Consulting. She is a burnout prevention coach. She works primarily with folks in the medical field. So we're going to get a little bit more information on that from her as well. And yeah, so just kind of a Jack and Jill of all trades person. I love her style, love her approach. But yeah, please keep the comments coming. We're definitely going to bring her up here in a second. Let me just make sure I've got other folks here. Rodney, we've got from St. Louis. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we got folks all over, which is amazing. We've got a fellow Atlanta Georgian. Thank you so much for being here as well. So we've got some local folks here as well. So this is great. Yeah. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Becky on stage. Becky, hey, you are here. Like you're here.
I'm
You're
here.
here.
Hello, how are
We're
you? Oh my
good.
goodness.
How you doing? What's going
Ah,
on this wonderful
I'm
Thursday?
oh my gosh, it has been such a great week. And I cannot believe it's been a year since we met. Can you believe that?
I I can't. I
Mhm,
think like I especially can't this year just because I mean like we're
mhm.
already basically in mid March, right? Like
I
it's gonna be
know.
the 15th of March next week, and here in Georgia, like spring literally, like I worked out this morning at my local gym, and somebody said they're just like we never really had a winter, and
Mhm.
here in Atlanta at least, it's just kind of like well we had like fall and then like spring. So like
Yeah.
the winter time here was just like nothing. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how it
It
is up in Canton. Like, what's the weather like up there for you?
it's been the same. We've had a couple of good snows and that's it. And it's been unseasonably warm and sunny. And I'll take every minute of it. I'm not a cold weather fan, but my kids love snow. So it's like this balance of like they want snow days, obviously. But yeah, they love snow. So, but their mom's happy. So,
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Well, let's get into it. I definitely
Okay.
appreciate you being here. And
Ah,
folks, too, please, if you're watching, do not be shy. Please comment. Please reach out because that gets you noticed. That gets us noticed. But more importantly, it brings us all together, because
Mm,
we're going to be sharing a lot of insights around leadership development and burnout prevention today,
mhm,
but we also want to learn from you, because that's what this community is about. And
mhm.
your experiences either with leadership development, burnout prevention and stuff, we want to hear from you. We want to know kind of what you're going through, what you're feeling. I tell folks all the time, this is a safe space. So please feel free to share, what you feel comfortable with. If you're not comfortable commenting, because there may be something very like personal or confidential, please reach out to both of us. I'm going to
Mhm.
actually share Becky's LinkedIn link first, just so you all know if you feel like you want to connect with her there. LinkedIn.com/in/Becky Wolf coach. Feel free to reach out, because this is and can be a very sensitive topic, but it's one that we wanted to share with you all today, just to really understand that it's very important, especially with trying to build out company cultures, and really as we're even job seekers, we're looking to find different companies that we want to work for. So please do feel free, comment as you wish. And again, this is a very, very safe space and community. We really do our best to try to make that happen for y'all. So Becky, right? Who are you? Give us your spiel, give us your pitch,
Uh,
whatever you want
yeah,
to share. Like, who are
yeah.
you? And let us know in the audience, like who's Becky?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I always say that this is like my second career. So my first career was actually in medicine. I became a PA. So I went to college, graduated in 4 years with my bachelor's and master's degree at the same time, and went into medicine, practiced medicine for about 13 years, a little over 13 years. The majority of my practice was in cardiology, and I loved it. I loved the one-to-one interactions with patients, but I heard a theme of questions that were constantly being asked, and that was, how do I get off my medication? How do I lose weight? How do I get healthy? And the frustration point for me was that I wasn't able to help patients in that way. And there was a lot of resources available. So I was treating chronic disease, but I wasn't actually helping patients get healthy. So that actually led me to health coaching. So I practiced health coaching alongside of being a PA in my cardiology practice. I did group coaching after hours in my clinic, and I fell in love with that. I had a patient come to me. We had been coaching, I think, for in the relationship for like 6 months, and he was seeing his primary cardiologist. And this is like the thing that impacted me the most, Phil. So this is like the thing that's stuck in my brain of why
Mhm.
I shifted careers and trajectories. But he was seeing his primary cardiologist. The cardiologist came and got me and said, "Hey, Mr. Smith's in room 4. He wants to see you." I'm like, "Okay." I'm behind an hour in office. I didn't eat lunch. I'm grumpy. And I go back and I sit in the room with him, and he says, "Becky, I want you to know what you're doing matters." And I put off. I'm like, "I see patients every day." I'm like, "This is nothing new. I see patients every day, and I'm just, doing my thing." He said, "No, what you're doing matters." He's like, "You listen to me." He's like, "I've lost 40 pounds, like 35 to 40 pounds, and I'm off all my medicines but one, and you're the only person that listened to me." And I was
Wow.
like, "Oh my gosh, there is so much more here. There's like a bigger impact that I felt like I could make." And I didn't know what that was at the time. I had my second kiddo, and there was some complications with him. So I ended up cutting back work. And, there's seasons, I think, where we have to go and figure ourselves out. And that was definitely a season for me. So this was 2018 to 2019. And I signed up for a professional development course for myself because something's missing. That was like the
Hmm.
theme I kept feeling. And I'm like, there's just something missing in my life. And I don't know what it is. I can't put language around it. I can't put my finger on it. So I just need something to do for me. So signed up for this year-long coaching course, and my life changed. I was a completely different person at the end of it. I had language to why I loved coaching. Personal development for myself and others is a core value. Integrity is a core value. Freedom, having the ability to just move around and see different things was like another core value. So I was like, okay, now what do I do with this information? So I knew this about myself. So I'm like, what the heck do I do now? And I ended up finding a health coaching company to work for. So I ended up working for them for a couple, like it was about little over 2 years. And I started my business on the side. I knew I wanted to get into executive and leadership coaching because I felt like the impact would be a little bit larger. And I loved the dynamic of one-to-one coaching and then team coaching. But I really believed in healthy workplace culture. And this was in 2020. I started my business. So I started
Hmm.
doing smaller groups. For me, I needed to feel like I could do it. I needed to see progress. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just talk to a few people that I know, see if I can do it within their offices and see if then I can scale it. And it worked. I remember the first office that I worked with, first medical office I worked with, we did a celebration ceremony at the end of our 6-month contract. And each one of the ladies that I worked with gave me a huge hug. And they're like, "You've changed my life." And I'm like, that's not me. This is just the process of growth. This is the process of where you're at. Like you're doing the work. I'm just here to
Uh-huh.
support you. And I'm like, this is beyond a blessing. I absolutely love what I do. So moving forward from there, and a year ago, actually, March of 2022, I decided to jump ship from my regular job and go
Mm.
full time in entrepreneurship. I actually
Mm-hmm.
had a company that was working with a contract, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to increase hours." And I'm like, "Okay, so this is actually sustaining me, and I know I have work for the next year and a half, so I'm gonna go ahead and just jump." Scariest thing I think I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a single mom, so I mean that's part of my story too. I did it while I was a single mom, and it was scary as heck. And from there, just saw little doors open and little shifts being made that other people were just excited about development within their culture and their organization. I'm like, okay, people are seeing the need for development of people and relationships being built within workplace. So it's been a journey, but I've loved every minute of it.
I love it. I especially just, I mean, writing down notes and stuff. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I think that really kind of sang a tune for me or whatever was like your core value of integrity. I love integrity as well, just because it's like, we're here to be committed to others. We're here to
Mhm.
impact. I heard a lot about that. Just your story around like really just the career pivoting. I obviously that resonates with me and the amount of clients that I have in on the job search side where I help job seekers like make pivots in their careers if they're wanting to
Yep.
go into a different industry or a different role altogether. So that definitely
Mhm.
resonated. And then yeah,
Yeah.
just the jumping ship and just saying, you know what, I'm going to go all in on myself full time, be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, and
Mhm.
stuff like that. I want to bring a few comments up here. We had couple of
Yeah.
folks come up here. MD, thank you so much for being here. We've got Michael in the house from Brampton, Canada. Thank you so much for being here as well. We've got Syed again here. Thank you for being here as well. I want to kind of like back up a little bit because
Mhm.
I think like it's really cool. Like being a PA obviously is not easy.
Mhm.
I could never do that route at all. I'm not smart enough like I would say, but like why like cardiology? Like I feel like I want to know
Mm.
a little more about like that. Like how did you get into it
Yeah.
um going, and then like talk to us a little bit about just kind of the experience of, you
Mhm.
know, making that shift into entrepreneurship. Kind of more on like, a
Mhm.
feeling perspective, right? Like what kind of
Mhm.
helped you to get outside of, get yourself out of your own way, and talk to us a little bit about that. I think that's kind of important too.
Yeah, yeah. So when I graduated from college, I did emergency medicine. And I did that for 2.5 years and I liked it. I didn't like the shifts as much. And I knew that wouldn't be where I stayed, but I did a rotation in cardiology when I was in school. And I just fell in love with it. I loved the patients, honestly. I always was geared more towards the older generation. And what I could learn, I think, I always loved the wisdom that I would get from patients even if you're in the office with them for a few minutes and you're talking about blood, about blood pressure, they will spill just this little wisdom nugget of like their relationship or like something they learned about their occupation or and it was like I have gold in front of me of just people who are willing to share stories. And that was the thing that I think identified with most was just being able to learn still. And it was a continuous learning thing. I also loved variability in cardiology. So we had the option to do rounding at the hospitals on the weekends. So we got to see inpatient versus outpatient, um, uh, different disease processes and things. And I loved that. I love the flexibility of seeing that. That was really exciting to me, I think. So that was why I chose cardiology. And that was, 7 years of my practice. And then it just became this like I could see the need for wellness being more
Mm.
within the scope of my practice, and I couldn't really implement it the way that I really wanted to, which was like, how can we help get loads of people around this, or how can we get funding, or how can we get more people on board with it? So that was the frustration point that was there that I couldn't shake. So I think that was like the mindset of like, okay, and then seeing that if I dove into people's habits with them, if I was walking beside them, giving them the support that they needed, that, yeah, 6 months, I started noticing I'm like 60% of my patients came back and they had lost some weight or they had gotten off medication. I'm like, that's massive. versus me
Mhm.
telling them like, hey, this is what a healthy diet looks like, or like this is what people do to lose weight, which was not helpful. It's not tailoring it to what they needed. And each individual person is so different with what works for them regarding their
Mhm.
lifestyle. And that was a huge thing that I noticed, which was I wasn't doing them a favor as their clinician with just telling them what to do. But when I was in it with them, walking alongside them, empowering them, things changed.
Mm. I love that. Like,
Mhm.
the need for wellness, like,
Mhm.
people, like, not only, like, seeing the results, like, having them get off medication, losing weight, just feeling better, but,
Mhm.
they obviously, I'm sure there's even, like, a confidence kinda boosting as well,
It
where it's like,
is.
yeah, I feel great, like,
Yeah.
I can, live my life, better and longer and,
Mhm.
have more, like, sustainability and things like that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that a lot. That is
Mhm.
amazing. We have my friend Megan here join. Thanks for being here, my friend. Awesome. Keep them coming, y'all. Like, this is incredible. I love it.
Mhm.
Pawan, thank you so much. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Pawan, thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I love I love your story. I love how, you've transitioned and you've pivoted and you're doing your own thing. Um, Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, like, your, like, when we think of, like, leadership development, right? Like,
Mhm.
everybody has a different, perception and a different opinion on it,
Mhm.
and, like, I guess, in to share with the audience, like, what is your definition
Mhm.
of what, like, leadership development means to you, and
Mhm.
how do you interpret it as such, just as far as what is LD to
Yeah.
you, right?
So, leadership development to me means that we get to know somebody's purpose, like what's behind the person. And each person is a leader, regardless of whether or not somebody reports to them or not. It is
Mm,
each person is leading themselves at least, right? So we are all leading ourselves. We all have goals, we all have dreams, we have aspirations. And it's really digging into that person and who they are, their purpose, their unique mission statement that they have, their vision for their life. So I think development in that way of like sitting down with somebody, where do you want to go in this company or even outside of the company, which is not like a popular belief system, but it's getting there. And I see some of my clients doing that, and I love it. They'll say they recognize who their people are. So I work with a restaurant company, and they realize they're hiring a lot of college kids. And one particular leader, I was talking to him the other day. Actually, it was a couple months ago because we were wrapping up the end of the year last year, and I said, what do you see as like one of your best wins for this past year? And they got to do a celebration. And during the celebration, he said, I saw so many people in our organization that I touched at some point. And he's like, I recognized they came in, they had a leadership track. They wanted to be in management, they wanted to grow. And he's like, and I wanted to set them up for that. So I did whatever it took to connect them to people or to give them the resources that they needed to be who they wanted to be in our company. Or he's like, there were some college kids that just needed resources outside of the company. This was just a job for them, and I'm aware of that. He's like, so that was my greatest aha moment for this past year. Is like I have that ability to just connect people and just love on them, even though I might have an impact for such a short time. So in my mind, that's the culture that we need to embrace of like how can we impact people's lives? How can we help them and empower them where they're at? Because realistically, people are likely not going to be with our company for a very long time, but how can we make the
mhm,
impact that we want to make on their lives while they're with us?
oof. Wow. I mean, I sincerely loved when you said that, like, we are all leaders, and I had to put that in the comment, just like what you said, or
Mhm.
like just what you said there, like, we are all leaders, whether it's us leading people, whether it's us leading a project initiative at work,
Mhm.
whether
Yeah.
it's just, we're also like we're leading our lives. Like, we all have our own unique, lives to live and
Yeah.
careers to have. And, you
Mhm.
hear all the time, like, we're the captain of our ship, right? We're
Yeah.
navigating our journey. We are in control. So there's an element of leadership. So I love how you brought that part of it in, but then also the other thing I think that was so important, and I want to kind of repeat it because it was all just so powerful here. Like, a good leader or an effective leader is one, in your opinion, that, like, is helping to lead and, like, to coach and
Mhm.
develop somebody with
Yes.
impact, regardless of how short or how long that
Mhm.
relationship lasts, like at that company, which is
Yes.
incredible. So okay, so let's stop there, right? Because I think what's important about that statement is, we're seeing a lot, or at least on my end, like the clients I work with, a lot of them tell me, hey, or the the two biggest themes that I'm getting from clients that I've worked with, and other job seekers who have reached out, who are currently working, they're saying like, hey, my manager isn't. I feel like I'm not valued in my job, or I feel like my
Mhm.
manager's not giving me a sense of value, or I just don't
Mhm.
feel seen, heard, valued, respected, or recognized in what I'm doing, right, in my
Mhm.
job, right. Even though there is a sense of value and that person knows that they're bringing value, right? So,
Yeah.
um, how can leaders, just in your expertise, based on your expertise, how can leaders um, identify, right? Like I guess what's a good way where leaders can help those employees feel that sense of belonging.
Mhm.
Like we'll talk about DEI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or how can we get leaders to really improve their approach, perhaps, if you will, to
Mhm.
help those employees feel better about where they're working, or um, their job, and that sense of value there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean.
Yeah.
So there has to be strong relationships, and I think it goes back to trust. If you feel like you can trust your manager that they have the best interest for you, like your best interest at heart, you feel a sense of belonging. And I think that's what people want more than anything. They want connectivity and belonging within the workplace. They don't want to be two different people when they're leaving versus when they're in the workspace. Um, so that's what resonates with me. And one-to-one meetings, I usually will urge the people that I work with that have staff that report to them. I'll say, well, what does a one-to-one meeting look like for this person, for this unique individual? How often do they need it? Where are they at in their stage of growth? Are they a new employee? Are they somebody that's been there 6 months? Because it usually does make a difference. Because if there's somebody that's new in the organization, you want closer touch points than you do later. So let's say somebody's been there a year, they feel competent, they feel like they understand their role. You may not need as often of touch points, so maybe every 6 weeks. But the one-to-one meetings are a great place to get feedback, so get information and then give feedback. So you've got to play both roles here. You have to play the listener, and you have to be the person who's the support person and the person that sets expectations. So I work with a company called Giant. I partner with them, and one of the things we say is, how can we be a liberator for each person that we are in
Mm,
touch with? So liberation looks like high challenge and high support. It's not without challenge. It's not just all support. It's with challenge, expectation. If you don't have that expectation, people don't feel like you see their potential, and that's where things
mm.
can get missed if we're support people. But if we don't get support, we can feel like we're kind of just playing chess with people, and that doesn't feel good on the other side either, right? So it is the both and. How can I let somebody know that I support them? I want to see them get to where they want to go. I want to be involved in their purpose, their impact statement for them. So you do have to kind of dig into somebody's life, and those one-to-one meetings are a great way to do that.
Mm. I've got goosebumps right now because no, it's I'm definitely like on a Myers Briggs. I'm definitely a feeler versus a thinker, so I'm very emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, what's
It
your
comes that.
Myers Briggs? I know Myers
Yeah.
Briggs.
Oh yeah. So I'm an ENFJ, and so for those
Okay.
folks in the audience here, so I'm extroverted,
Yeah.
obviously, right? No surprise there. N is like intuition. So
Mhm.
you've got N, which is kind of like I'm outside the box thinking, and
Mhm.
things like that. I'm kind of like in the moment stuff. And then F
Yeah.
is feeler, of course, and then J is
Yeah.
judging. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
more like kind of a planner versus
Yes.
spare in the moment, like, hey, let's make this happen, spontaneous,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. What are
Yeah.
you? I'm
I'm
curious
an
too. Yeah.
INFJ. So I'm very
INFJ.
similar
Yeah.
to you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
feeler, very, big feeler, but thinking for opportunities down the road, like what I can see
Yeah.
pictured. Same for you. But
I love
um,
it.
yeah,
I love it.
it's
If
it's awesome.
I love it. Those are the audience. If you've done Myers Briggs before, let us know your
Yes.
indicators as well, because I think what's really important, and this is it resonates so much because
Mhm.
so like at my first HR job, one of the things that we did is we actually did Myers Briggs for our company, and
Yeah.
on the contact sheet we actually had people's like work emails and phone numbers, but then we also had a column for their Myers Briggs indicators, and so
Oh
for
wow.
us, it was really kind of cool to go into meetings and understand
Mhm.
before we would talk to somebody like what their Myers Briggs was, and so we kind of
Yeah.
like get to understand them more on that perspective, and we all got trained
Yeah.
on it. So it's really kind of
Yeah.
cool. Um, I love the
Yeah.
liberator. I love where you said like,
Mhm.
being involved with their purpose. Can
Mhm.
we dig like a little bit deeper on that?
Sure.
Like, how can leaders? So we talked about like this is what they should do, but
Mhm.
how, right? Like, how
Yeah.
can leaders out there? What are some strategies like that leaders can do to not only be involved with their people's purpose,
Mhm.
but um I guess to show that they are.
Yeah. To set people up for success, right?
Yeah, there you
So,
go. Yeah,
yeah, I think I'm going to use the restaurant example again. I think
yeah.
identifying who you're working with and giving them all the opportunities available. So, college students often will work at restaurants because they need money. Their, the shifts are variable. They can actually accommodate the lifestyle. Sometimes they want the path of development within the restaurant, and sometimes they are, going to be a counselor or something, right? Or a nurse or whatever that looks like. So how can you accommodate what their aspirations are? So is it, do you need money? You need shifts? You need, like, what do you need? So the initial one-to-one meeting is saying, hey, how can I make this job the most beneficial for you? Is it a job? Are you looking for a career path? Like, how can I help you? How can I set you up for success?
Hmm.
That is something that I think that can be done better. And so let's say that person wants to go on into the restaurant company and they want to, um, think long-term career. So this particular manager, if they're meeting this particular leader, I want to define them as leaders because they are. They can define, well, what does success look like to you? What are things you're really good at? What are strengths for you? Is it training? Do you love interactions with people one-to-one? Are you more extroverted? Do you love like big scope of like managing a restaurant? Because there are some different opportunities and placements within organizations that could fit those roles. So really delineating, what are you good at? What do you love to do? What are the things that are life-giving or energizing for you? And then the other side of that is like, what's draining? What do you not want to do if you didn't have a choice? Not that that's going to be all of us. We have to do some things we don't like to do, obviously.
Yeah.
But you have to try to spend most of your time doing the things that are life giving and energizing because if you do,
Ooh.
life's much better, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. Oh, I love it. No, we got some really powerful comments. I want to bring a few up here from prior, and then obviously Kurt wants keep them going. All this is amazing because I'm learning, and we're definitely learning again as much from you all here, just commenting and engaging as we're giving to you as well. That's what this is all about. Mia says impact plus empower equals success.
Yes.
Fire ignites, ignition, all that good stuff. I love it. Chris says the great stuff. Now we appreciate it. We had Nadine come in also as well from Michigan, where Mia's at as well. Mia agrees. Yes, seen or heard, absolutely. As
Yes.
far as that belonging you said earlier. Mia
Yeah.
says yes, for also from Michigan, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. We've got some other folks tuning in from LA. Thank you for being here. Beautiful. So Mia had said too. This is the other one. Um, I'm feeling every word you are saying about belonging, connection, and support, which I write and speak to in my post. If I don't feel that in my post or at work, I will disconnect and disengage and possibly look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
ooh.
Good question, though. So, what makes you feel valued? So, if you're in the comments, like, how do you feel valued or seen or heard in a workplace? I would love to hear people's thoughts on
Yes,
that.
1,000% yes. Yes, yes, yes. Because we all experience value in a different way, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Chris had said here, the why is the number one question to ask every one of your
hmm
people. Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah.
Like, you see, like this, I mean, y'all, like,
Great topic. Yeah.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
why I love doing these lives.
hmm
We've got some Myers-Briggs results, INTF and
Yeah.
INFJ.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, but like Becky said, let us know what when you think of value. Let us know in the
hmm
comments. What does value mean to you? Um, let's see. Our friend Dana here,
Dana.
Atlanta as well in the house. Thank you for being here, friend. Dana's actually one of my
Mhm.
mentors in the HR profession.
Oh,
So,
yay.
yeah, she
Hey,
is.
Dana.
Yes, she's incredible. So I look up to
Mhm.
her in the world of HR
Yeah.
and recruiting, all that stuff. She's a really
Nice.
good friend as well. So love it.
Mhm.
Mia says here, when I am acknowledged, and appreciated for the work that I am doing. It makes me feel seen, heard, valued,
Yes.
respected, belonged. Um, there was a good episode. There was a previous episode I did, I think last year with my friend Tracy Borison. She's very big on
Mhm.
like DEIB, and her
Yeah.
kind of approach with belonging is very much the same with what Mia
Mhm.
said here, and also too, belonging of work, right? Like you said earlier, identifying what people need, asking the hey, how can I help you, right?
Yeah.
And even the what, like what can I do as your leader, as your person,
Mhm.
whatever, to
Yeah.
ensure that you are successful in your career, in your, in your life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because again, on a company perspective, if people are successful, and this is my philosophy,
Mhm.
if people are successful, then the business will be successful. It's not the other way
It is.
around, right? So if your people
Yeah.
truly, if leaders are
Mhm.
helping to set their people up to be successful in their job,
Mhm.
regardless of what they do, whether
Yep.
they're the CFO or they're, a front desk coordinator or something, right? Like
Mhm.
we all have value to bring, and
Yep.
leaders have to
Mhm.
recognize that and reward that when people are really
Mhm.
impacting the business.
Yeah. Yep.
Here's a comment related to that. Value is a solution to some. See the value, yo. This is so great. Value. This is why. Oh, my voice is cracking. This is why I love doing lives. Like this is what's up.
Mhm.
Value is a solution to someone else's problem.
Mhm.
What an
Yeah.
impactful comment. Like,
Yeah.
yes. Ah, oh, I love it. We got more coming. Like this is just no one. There is
Mhm.
just excuse me. There is just no one way for me. To Chris's point, I was never really asked. I took on 3 additional roles at a former employer without any correlation in pay, although they
Mhm.
often gave lip service to diversity, equity, inclusion. Let me go
Mhm.
to my page to get the rest of that real quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
sometimes it will only on lives. It'll just give a little bit. It,
Yeah.
it limits the character count. I also like to be acknowledged and appreciated. My leader, Rory, I hope I'm saying that, said thank you. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even saying a simple thank you goes a long way.
Yeah.
1,000%.
It
Keep them
does.
coming,
Yeah.
y'all. This is great. We've got we've got more, and then the prosperity follows. Yeah,
Yeah. True.
yeah. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness me. Like let me keep
Mm.
going here. Dana says, and I'll have got this up here. People still wondering where quiet quitting stems from. It's from teammates not being allowed to feel like they are seen or heard.
Mhm.
Acknowledge others, but even more than that, it's important to make sure they are seen and heard by the right folks in the
Mhm.
org.
Yeah. That's good. That's
Ooh.
so good.
Ooh. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness me. Like, oh my gosh, this is
Mhm.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, this is incredible. Talk to us about, because I think the one thing that was important
Mhm.
is, and I'm very similar, like in my leadership style, like I love helping
Mhm.
my direct reports to kind of understand their strengths and really utilize their strengths in the roles that they have. So for example, I had
Yeah.
a recruiting assistant in my last corporate job, which seemed like ages ago, which it was. Oh, that's okay. But he was a graphic designer, and I
Mhm.
had him kind of do a lot of creative with marketing on like career fairs and stuff, and he really felt that sense of fulfillment. But
Yeah.
like, let's say maybe a leader understands that, hey, I need to do that with my people, or I really need to
Yeah.
understand, or maybe let me ask it this way, right? Like, let's say you've got a new manager, and I think there was a comment earlier on my other post I did today
Yeah.
um, where my friend Jamal had said like, hey, you know, there's a lot of challenges with like, mid-level management either, or
Mhm.
like a new manager where maybe they don't know exactly how to, do these kind of things. Like, what would you say? How can they learn, right? How
Yeah.
to kind of dig deep into like those strengths of their people and helping them to like utilize projects maybe or other things like that in the workplace.
Yeah, yeah. So I think conversation is number one. I think it is challenging for new managers coming in, especially right now because of the climates, honestly, in a lot of workplaces. I would say conversation number one with teammates. Also, again, just kind of getting into who they are and supporting their purpose. But even more than that, the other thing that comes to mind for me, Phil, is like a mentorship kind of a thing. Like, who do you know in the organization that you look up to? And who do you know that you can get some information and model from? that has always been successful for me in any career change. Is finding people, the people who have been there. You see them as a good, healthy leader. How can you model what they're doing? If you feel kind of stuck, just ask for help.
Ask for help.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also think too, asking for help is important, but also like feeling like you can ask for help. So I also think too that that kind of
Mhm.
brings a sense of because asking for help sometimes can be like challenging, right? I mean, we've all been
Yeah.
there, right? We've all been like,
Mhm.
hey, I feel like if I ask for help, like I may feel like I'm weak, or I may feel like,
Yeah.
oh, like why, like oh, I can do this, myself, right?
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
also creating a culture, a company culture, and a space, a safe space, right? Like we said earlier, with this space being
Mhm.
safe,
Yeah.
to ensure that those employees or those people feel comfortable asking those right people for help. Lee, my friend
Yeah.
Lee over here had said, I'm gonna bring his comment back up. Thanks for being here, Lee. Good book on this topic, The Power of Thanks by Eric
Mhm.
Mosley, also on Audible. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love audiobooks and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of different tools that
Yeah.
you can look at. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing there. Perfect. So let's shift gears because I think folks, and I know I wanted to
Mhm.
ask this, from you for a while, and I think it's
Mhm.
appropriate to ask here on the live, right? Like
Okay.
we're seeing a lot of these changes in the workplace. We're seeing a
Mhm.
lot of these companies, either going through layoffs or they're going through, workforce restructures. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of this uncertainty happening. And
Mhm.
sometimes, you hear the statement like, it's sometimes in a company's, I don't want to say like a company's worst situation or worst case scenario, but it's a lot of times where uncertainty brings out a leader's like true character, right? Like whether
Yeah.
that's positive or maybe like I would say not so positive. I don't like saying the word negative, but
Yeah. I hear you.
let's say there are leaders or there are employees or there's people, we'll just say
Mhm.
generally speaking, that are going through uncertainty right now in their workplace, right? Like, let's say
Mhm.
they had a few people laid off and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm concerned that my role is going to be impacted.
Mhm.
I'm not hearing a lot from my manager, or nobody just knows what's going on, like
Yeah.
on a cultural perspective or like an LD perspective, whatever you want to call it. Like
Mhm.
how can companies help those people that feel like that sense of uncertainty? Like obviously the meetings, but
Yeah.
what else can companies do to, I guess I want to say like reassure, but like
Mhm.
to tell or help these folks be like, it's okay, like it's all
Mhm.
good, that kind of stuff. Like what can companies
Yeah.
do to just ensure that
Yeah.
culture still good,
Yeah. 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 And I'd love your perspective on this too, Phil. But I think that transparency has to be involved of what reality looks like right now for them. I think it's uncomfortable. Vulnerability and transparency are very uncomfortable words in business. Even though what I've found with talking with leaders and even talking with teams at this point, they all want unity. They all want some type, again, of connection. They all want to do really good work and they want to do it together. But I think that there's a mismatch of trust. And if you don't have trust, you can't have the psychological safety and you can't build healthy teams out of that. So there has to be a way to allude to some type of transparency, whether that's, this is what we're, down as far as like financially, if they feel comfortable doing that, or in the actual work force, like this is how many people we're down, this is what we can realistically hire. There's ways to do it in a comfort level that is okay for them, that feels comfortable for them or feels good for them. But but I think in order for trust to be built in these situations, it really has to be a level of vulnerability and transparency. Because I think without that, it's just words. And that's what feels uncomfortable. What are your thoughts on that? What have you seen with different clients of yours or organizations?
I love what you just said. Like without that, it's just words.
Mhm.
Like the transparency, the vulnerability, and
Mhm.
trust. Like
Mhm.
those, yes, they're words, right? But
Mhm.
when you dig deep into them, like they're truly actions. I mean, I love transparency, vulnerability. I love how you said earlier, like integrity. So like
Yeah.
my definition of integrity is transparency, communication, follow through, and
Mhm.
kindness. Like those
Yeah.
four elements are all centered around integrity. So I would even say that like it's
Yeah.
just being full of integrity and showing those areas: transparency, communication, follow
Mhm.
through, kindness slash empathy, right?
Yes.
To tie all of that into being, a
Mhm.
place of integrity. And so, of
Yeah.
course, my integrity is, doing what you said you would do when you said you would do it.
Right.
Um,
Yep.
and so that's that sense of commitment of,
Mhm.
hey, we want this and we're going to make this happen, but we're also going to show,
Mhm.
you know, the market how we're doing this, right? Like I think
Mhm.
kind of like on a recruitment, not to really have a lot of recruitment in play, but I think
Yeah.
what we're seeing too a lot now, which I'm very happy about, and these are some of the roles like I'm looking at just as a job seeker, is like
Yeah.
recruitment marketing and employer branding, just for myself, is there are a lot of companies out there I think who are starting to do they're starting to understand like, hey, we are different and we want
Mhm.
to show people we don't want to just only say, hey,
Mhm.
here's how we're different, but we want to
Mhm.
show you,
Yeah.
network or community or whatever, how we are
Yeah.
different as an organization.
Yep.
And, yeah, we can show employee testimonials and we can do things like that, but actually having that, like Mia says here in her comment,
Yeah.
connection
Yep.
is huge. She says here, connection is a must for me. If I can't have that, I can't trust you. How could you teach connection to those you work with if they themselves may not know how to do that themselves? What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I want to highlight one thing that actually just popped into my brain before I go to
That's what
Mia's
it's all about.
question.
Yeah.
The other thing, so let's say you have an organization that's struggling. If you have a leader who has a vision of how they're going to get out of it, that is another key thing. So just giving people a vision for what's expected or what's ahead is something that they can attach to. But you got to start working on yourself as a leader, and you have to really be willing to develop your people. This is the time now. If you don't have a people strategy, you can't execute a strategy as a company, and you can't build capital. So your revenue is going to suffer until you actually have a people strategy. So that kind of goes along with Mia's question. We can continue to develop ourselves as leaders, and then when we continue to develop and we continue to build that connection with others, people will follow. We model that. So I would say the more work we do on ourselves and we find healthy people around us and we start connecting with them in ways that is meaningful for them, other people will notice that. And
Mm.
sometimes the people that we want to maybe have connections with, you have to understand where they're at in their development as well. So you have to understand where they're at in their ability to connect. And so there's four trust filters basically that we all have to kind of be aware of when we're trying to build trust with people. So character and chemistry are the first two. So those are the first two that people are going to look at for you, whether or not you have that, especially if you're a feeler. So if you're a feeler, you're looking, does somebody have character? Can I have chemistry with them? If you're more of the thinker of the Myers-Briggs, it's going to be competency or credibility. So competency, do they know what they're talking about? And credibility, do I believe that they can take me from point A to point Z all the way through? So you have to know who you're dealing with. So know who the person is on the other side of you and what filters they need from you in order to build that trust. So that's the key to that working relationship. So if you are a feeler and you're working with a thinker, you really have to bring your game as far as like, this is what we need to do and help, execute it. And then that builds trust with them faster. So
Mm.
that would be my suggestion.
I love it. Character, chemistry, competency, credibility. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the audience
Mhm.
does as well. I love how you brought those into just the
Mhm.
Myers Briggs kind of theme. This is great.
Yeah.
No, this is fantastic. Mia says here, that's me. I'm both same. Yeah,
That's good. No, no, no.
yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you've developed that capability to give the other person what they're needing, you will build relationships and trust much faster.
Mm,
For me, it was a work in progress. I'm a feeler. I love people.
hmm.
And the struggle for me was actually showing competence or credibility because I felt like it was showy or braggy for me, and I hated that.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I just want to love people really well, but then I'm not showing them that I'm like, no, I'm actually kind of smart. So,
yeah. Just a little
but
bit. Yeah, yeah.
a
No,
little, I'm
I
not brilliant by any means, but I'm like, I love people and like I read a lot. So
I I feel you. Like I
Mhm.
completely I understand. Like I'm the same
Yeah,
way. Like I don't. My natural state is not like to brag. Like, oh,
yeah.
hey, look at me, check this out. Da 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 da.
Mhm.
I usually like when I'll say something. especially like on LinkedIn, like on my posts and stuff like that, it's usually
Yeah.
when a client has a good, client win or success like that, because again,
Mhm.
it's about
Yeah.
their win. It's not about my win.
Yeah.
It's about their win. It's the fact that they
Mhm.
they landed that, that new career that brought them fulfillment. So I want to brag in that sense because it's about
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
us. Nadine said something here too. I want to bring up. Um, I believe the strong connections and
Mhm.
relationships are tougher in this virtual marketplace. Many companies are forced to go virtual due to COVID and are still virtual without being intentionally diligent in building
Mhm.
connections. Yeah, she brings a
Yeah.
good point up. So I guess, can we
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that? Like,
Yeah.
let's say you've got companies out there that, yeah, they're remote first, or they've gone,
Mhm.
from kind of like on site to remote, or maybe they've
Yep.
been fully remote, and even companies that are, yes, we went remote, but we want people on site, or we want
Mhm.
people to go back hybrid when maybe they had a remote policy first. Now, oh, we're making that change. We're going back to the office. Like, kind of
Yep.
dig a little bit about that. Like, how can leaders, like, what should leaders do, right? Or what should
Yeah.
people and leaders do in these scenarios? I'm so glad that you brought this up. This is huge, Nadine.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, the remote virtual workspace is a challenge for sure. I can speak to what I've seen work well, but it is some type of gathering in person, at least annually. If you're completely remote, there has got to be some way to gather in person, so you can meet people. It actually just builds the network of trust faster if you get to actually be with people, eat with them, spend time with them, do team building in some fashion. And it depends on how often you want to do that. But it seems to me that if there's some type of in person connection, that those teams are stronger. Going back to work, I know that there's, like you said, Phil, there are teams that are going back to work either part time or being able to work remotely flexibly. But I think that is an expectation thing. So setting the expectations as to why, tell the team why it's necessary. I feel
Hmm.
like that's missing a lot when those expectations are set. There's not the why behind it, why it's necessary to come back into the office for a period of time. And I think if you do that, people will understand. But I just think that sometimes the why isn't really fully explained.
Yeah, or they may know the why, but they're not sharing it, like you said
Yes.
earlier, with the
Mhm.
transparency and even
Yes.
like the
Communication.
vulnerability side. Yeah, communication, integrity,
Yes.
exactly, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. No, this is
Yeah.
great. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, change, and that's the thing. Like with effective change management
Hmm.
comes the why. Like, your
Yep.
people need to know why, or else, yeah, they're gonna find
Yeah.
another opportunity. Because, yeah, that's what I see a lot of. I've got clients out
Hmm.
there that, yeah, they're fully remote and they're
Yep.
having to go back to the office. So they're like, I need to find something else because I don't know
Hmm.
why. I don't have a sense of clarity. And so what I'll
Yeah.
usually do is I'll say, well, have you asked your manager? Well, my manager's busy, or
Hmm.
they don't know why. So it starts
Yeah.
at the top, right? I mean, it's like,
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a trickle down effect. Like the top leaders have to
Yeah.
communicate that and set the example, and
Hmm.
you know code of ethics and things like that
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
bring that in play.
Yeah.
No, this is great. My friend Lynn here. I love the thought of being a feeler. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah. So I mean, we're getting close to the hour. So I definitely, if you got comments or other thoughts, folks out there, please let us know. But kind of as like we close out, I mean, I'm curious to know. I mean, you've given so much information, like, which is so impactful and meaningful. Um, what about for those employees? Like, let's say, we've talked about leadership and, like, leading people and, like, leading projects. But, like, let's say you've got, because I love, like, the onboarding piece of, when a new hire
Yeah.
comes in, and because, let me just back up. So, like,
Okay.
we've heard before, like, hey, we've got a new employee, their first 90 days kind of make or break whether they're going to stay at
Hmm.
the company or not. And let's say, like, you've got a new employee that comes in and stuff. Like, what should they do to, um, get kind of like acclimated in that culture? But then also on the flip
Hmm.
side, like, when, you've got a leader that is going to be bringing in a new hire and they're going to be like managing them, or if you've
Yeah.
got somebody that is like maybe looking to be ready to be promoted into a leadership, like, management
Yeah.
job, or they're getting a big, like, leader role. Like, where I'm trying to go with
Hmm.
this is, like, how can people be better prepared,
Yeah.
when they do get those kind of opportunities of leading, whether it's people,
Hmm.
or like initiatives? Like,
Yeah.
how can people just in general, based on your expertise, like, be prepared so
Yeah.
that oh my gosh, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know if I can. Like, how can people get past that, like, imposter syndrome, I guess? Right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to turn the question back on you just for a second with the first 90
Ooh.
days thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
So, what
please
are
do.
your thoughts on that with onboarding?
Hmm.
How crucial is that for the success of somebody's role and for somebody feeling like they want to stay at the company? How crucial do you think that is?
I mean, it's incredibly important. I mean,
Mhm.
I've been fortunate enough that every role I've had in corporate has had a sense of onboarding responsibilities
Mhm.
in there. And so whether it's me like creating a brand new onboarding process that's very
Yeah.
like interactive, where I'm doing like pulse checks on those employees like
Mhm.
every month to see how they're doing, to feel,
Yep.
to understand, engage. Well, what are they getting all the training they need for their new role? Are they getting all the
Yeah.
technology? How do they feel their managers doing? Kind of like
Mhm.
hitting any, if there are any like red flags early on, like within the first month, then we're obviously approaching that, with care and, with
Mhm.
diligence, and making sure their manager understands. And there's, again, a sense of transparency and
Mhm.
trust, right? Like you said
Yep.
earlier, along the
Mhm.
process.
Yeah.
I love onboarding, like aside from recruiting and talent
Mhm.
acquisition, it's definitely my favorite part of,
Yeah.
of the function, because onboarding is even beyond the 90 days. Like it's a continual thing. And I
Mhm.
always like to tell people, like, in organizations, that onboarding it begins even before the employee starts, all the way to
Mhm.
when they leave. Because
Yep.
I remember my very first manager at my first job, like I was at my first company for 5 years in HR.
Mhm.
And I know that I left, and one of the things that he told me that was important, he's just like, I'm still onboarding you. Like he's onboarding me to prepare me for that next opportunity.
Yep.
And he did. And so like to this day, I
Mhm.
will never forget him, and and that style of leadership. And so a lot of
Yeah.
that kind of philosophical approach in leadership is stuff that I do with
Yeah.
my people. And
Yeah.
even on a fulfillment perspective with my coaching, like I have a signature program that I call the
Mhm.
fulfillment experience.
Yeah.
And it goes just beyond helping my job seeker clients gain confidence, in their job search journey and getting the
Mhm.
job offer. But I'm actually there with them as a coach and a guide for their first 90 days as well. So
Mm.
I'm helping them kind of on a talent development HR perspective,
Yep.
to be with them, to make sure they're comfortable, to kind of
Yep.
give them that, neutral, lens, if you will, to help them to to meet the right people, to have a,
Mhm.
sense of trust with their manager and stuff like that. So I actually have a
Yep.
program that's
Mhm.
designed around onboarding, because it's such an important element
Mhm.
of an employee life cycle, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think the more influence you have on that onboarding period, there has to be structure and stability. That's one thing from Project Aristotle in 2012 that was highlighted. So, psychological safety, security, structure, stability, all those words. People need to feel that, like a sense of connection when they come in the door. I don't think we do a good enough job with mentorship, honestly, because I think if you think about the life cycle of somebody who's in a workplace that they actually really enjoy, they don't want to stay often. They don't want to stay in one position. They want to continue to grow within the company. And I think that each role has to have some type of step of development. And we have to kind of, put our brains around that that's a possibility now. And that's what people want. So I think we've got to really highlight that. And I love what you said. It's onboarding the entire life cycle of the person being there. It is not just the first 90 days. The first 90 days
Yep.
will give you the opportunity to get to connect with somebody, to make them feel like part of something. But after that, there should be a handoff to like a manager who has a really positive influence that becomes their mentor of, okay, so where do you want to go in the company? And again, it kind of just takes hold. But I love what you said. I think it is crucial, and I think that we could do a little bit better job as far as the mentorship process.
Every company, I agree. Every
Mhm.
company should have some kind of a mentorship program,
Yep.
I think.
Mhm.
And I've built them from scratch, but then I've also enhanced them as well. And I agree. Like
Mhm.
I think, and Myers-Briggs was another reason why, like at my first company, we did that, because we
Mhm.
did match, like, mentors and mentees up that had different Myers-Briggs indicators. And so it was
Yeah.
so it was a learning experience for both mentor and mentee, and both of them were able to learn and collaborate and
Yes.
to do
Yep.
things together. I completely agree.
Mhm.
Um, we've got another comment here from Venice. I do want to bring that up as well. Let's see what we've got here. Relationships are the be all end all to achieving success personally, professionally. True, authentic relationships that foster trust and
Mhm.
reciprocity. I like that word a lot, for all
Yeah.
concerned, and the relationships that will create the strongest, mutually beneficial and loyal connections. And she has
Mhm.
the sunglasses emoji on there at the end.
That's
It's not coming on
perfect.
the live, but I had to you know, say that
Highlight
because
that. I love it.
that's huge. No,
Mhm.
that's big. 1,000%.
Mhm.
Gosh, like this has been so great. And
Yeah.
for those, again, for everybody that's been like tuning into the replay or tuning into the replay, the live here, we appreciate your time. I want to like close out, and I always ask this final question to my guest speakers. And of course, Becky, thank you for being here too.
Yeah, thank you, Phil.
So I want to ask you this final question. And then, folks, if you're on the live, if you're in the replay, we're going to bring a couple things up below our faces. So stay tuned for a little bit because we got a few updates as well towards the end. But Becky, what would be, you've given us so many like different tips and nuggets. I've got a page and a half of notes right here on my desk. I'm looking at it right now because I handwrite everything. But what would you say, like, if you want folks to remember like one key takeaway from our chat today, what would you want to say and why?
Mm. I would say the key takeaway is to invest in yourself because that will be multiplied. So the more you invest in your own growth, in your own personal journey, you will give that influence away. You will multiply it more than you even know. The impact will be massive. So that would be the number one thing that I would suggest. Like, don't be afraid to invest in who you are.
I love it. I love it. No, I absolutely love it. Powerful. I mean, we talked about leadership development. We talked about company culture. We talked about one-on-one meetings and the importance of transparency, vulnerability, communication, integrity, belonging, all of this just stuff. Myers-Briggs,
Yeah,
everybody in
all
the
the good
comments,
stuff.
just all the goods. I learned from everybody here. We'll definitely learn from
I
you, and I
know.
know they did as
Ah.
well. This has just been fantastic. So the question for folks here in the audience, where can we find Becky? You can definitely connect with her on LinkedIn. We're going to put her LinkedIn page here, www.linkedin.com/in. I always forget the in, but don't forget the in, slash Becky-Wolf-coach. She's also tagged too on this live. So this
Yeah.
one and then the post I did this morning, definitely feel free to click on her name directly. It'll go right to her page. Send her a connection request. Like definitely
Yeah,
let
reaching.
her know. Yeah, let her know that you saw the live. Same with me. If you're not connected with me, please also do connect with me as well. For folks maybe seeing on her page right now, send a connection request. Yeah, definitely send us a personalized note. Let us know what you thought about this live here too, so we know that you saw it. That'd be awesome there. Becky also has her website. It's very easy to remember. So www.beckywolfe.com. If you type her name in full, beckywolfe.com,
Yes.
you will find her on her website as well. I've got a few more comments that came in, so I want to just make sure I got them all here. And also, folks, we got a couple updates too, so just stay on for a few more minutes. Absolutely. Thank you for your comments as well. No, we definitely did cover a lot. That's the whole point. It's adding value in this hour. That's the key. So that's why we love doing these as well. And it's just a time for us to give back to the community, because we're all busy. We all have a lot going on, and we all appreciate everybody tuning in here, live, replay, etc. Because we know it takes time, from your busy days to come here and to watch a, fulfilling LinkedIn Live. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mia, thank you so much as well. We appreciate you for being here, for everybody, for your meaningful, your impactful comments, your thoughts, your feelings, all of it. I mean, it's just been incredible. A little bit on the fulfillment side. So folks have kind of asked like, hey, what's going on with fulfillment? I'm going to be launching hopefully this month a new LinkedIn newsletter. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want to kind of bring another sense of content around my brand, but also to share some like job search strategy on a high level to folks out there. I get a lot of questions all the time. Hey, Phil, how should I go approach my job search? So I want to bring kind of a newsletter. I don't know what I want to name it yet, but something that kind of like helps folks with job search strategy from a recruiter's perspective. So that's something that I'm going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. I'm also going to be sharing a new clarity worksheet. I get people that ask me all the time, hey, Phil, I know I want a new job, but I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. So I decided to create kind of a clarity worksheet that people can fill out and complete. And it has them think a little bit about like certain triggers. Like one of the examples is one of the questions I have on there is like, what kind of leader do you look up to? Like what leadership style do you thrive with, in terms of a manager and stuff like that. So that'll kind of be interesting there and all that good stuff. We also stream this on YouTube Live as well. So please do follow me on YouTube, www.youtube.com/@fulfillment. I know it's misspelled Phillment. Please subscribe there. I do a lot of the videos that I do in the lives are also streamed on there as well. So definitely feel free to do that. Becky, I guess real quick, are there any developments that you have going on as well you want to share with the audience?
No, actually, things have been pretty steady for me, so I don't have anything new or exciting happening. So,
Business as usual.
business as usual right now, but I'm super excited for all you're doing, Phil. It's been amazing to watch you over the last year just grow and just continue to crush it with helping lots of people.
Well, I mean, right back at you. We definitely, I mean, we both have grown, and I'd say, we all have grown. Like that's the power
Mhm.
of this community, right? Like we
Mhm.
all are
Yeah.
here to learn and grow and again engage and build that sense of community and connectivity with each other. Like that's what this
Yeah.
place is all about. And I think a lot of that growth I've had personally has been because of LinkedIn. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that feedback, and it has
Mhm.
been a journey, as we both know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great. Thank you, Phil and Becky, for other audience members. This was time very well spent. Feel free to link with me as well. I'll be announcing my new role within the next few weeks. Yay!
Woohoo.
Congratulations! Ding, that's awesome. The culture talk was right on time. Yeah, I mean, 1,000%, and definitely connect with us both. I mean, we're
Mhm.
here to help. Congrats on the new role. I definitely will
Yeah.
keep on the lookout for your announcement. That's exciting. It's very exciting. You did add value. No, we
Oh,
we
good.
we do. Thank you, Phil and Becky. Absolutely. Happy Friday Eve. Happy
Yeah.
Thursday, folks. We're gonna get out of here. Thank you all for just engaging, just bringing some
Yes.
vulnerability and just your impactful comments. I mean, it's just been very,
Mhm.
very meaningful, folks. If you are tuning in the replay, definitely do the same. We want you to engage. We want you to share your value and to share your story. It's very, very important because we all have value. We all have stories to share. And we all, as Becky said earlier, we all are leaders. That's, I think, the
Mhm.
takeaway that I got from this is we
Mhm.
all are
Yeah.
leaders. We all can lead, and we lead others, we lead projects. We're here to lead and
Mhm.
to lead with intention. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Becky, you've been great.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
appreciate you.
thank you. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Phil. This has been amazing.
absolutely. We're going to do a little countdown. So we'll say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take care, everybody. Bye
Bye.
bye.